slow to upload to YouTube right now. So.
Okay. Commissioner Slaney, you made it.
I did. We're working on getting all there. Okay, I can see now.
All right, I have 4 o'clock. So I'm going to call the Isabella County Board of Commissioners work session electronic meeting on June 15th, 2021 to order, please. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Clerk Lux, please, a roll call vote of the members present and identify their physical location, please, members.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Present, reporting remotely from my home in Nottawa Township, Isabella County.
thank you. Commissioner Engler,
Here, and I am reporting from my home in Deerfield Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Jazinski,
Present, participating from my home in Chippewa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Marino,
Here, participating from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Commissioner Swaney,
Here, attending remotely from Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Commissioner Hope,
Present, I'm attending remotely from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County, Michigan.
and Commissioner Horton.
I am present. I'm attending from my office in Big Rapids, Michigan, Mecosta County.
All present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Clerk Lux. Next up, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. We have general public comments. We have one item under presentations and special reports, which is Isabella County Administrator Controller reports. We have nothing under appointments to boards and commissions. Going to committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee.
Finance and Administration is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. On item C, Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee, all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving to item number D, Intergovernmental Affairs. Vice Chairman Hope, are there any items under intergovernmental affairs this evening you'd like to discuss?
There are. We met yesterday and I can give a brief report of the discussion there. There's no action that we have to take, but I can fill everyone in on the discussion that transpired.
Very good. We'll add it then. We have nothing under the Administrator Controller reports. Under item number 8, we have nothing under unfinished business. Under item number 9, under new business, we have item A. Commissioner, anything else commissioners would like to add under new business?
Yeah, I'd like to add a letter B, and that would be consider approving the extension for the cooperative reimbursement program between MDHHS and the Isabella County Prosecuting Attorney's Office.
Okay, we will have that added to the agenda under new business. Now it brings us to general public comments, announcements, and then adjournment. Commissioners, can I have a motion and a support for the approval of the agenda, please?
So moved, Norino.
Support.
Jazinski.
We have a motion and support for the approval of the agenda with the additions added. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I was trying to catch your eye, but my screen wasn't quite right. So
Gotcha.
as you and I discussed just before the meeting, there may be something else that was going to come up at the last minute, and that has come up. So in discussions with regarding the bond, the bond motion that is on the agenda today, I was just notified by the bank about 20 minutes ago, and actually just confirmed in the last 5 or 10 minutes that there needs to be a motion added regarding authorize the board chair to sign on behalf to borrow that money from Isabella Bank and Trust. So a motion is coming to the Board of Commissioners right now. I really just hung up with the bank, so I apologize to you. They just informed me of that. So I will be adding that. I would like us, if we could, if the board would be approving of that, to add it after the agenda item regarding the bond resolution. So if we could. add
Move, so you want to put that, you want to put that from 8 under 3, then move 3 and 4 down to 4 and 5? Is that how you'd like to have it handled?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, commissioners, can whoever made the motion, can I get maybe or someone can make an amendment to that motion or change to that motion?
Yeah, making that motion, I'd like to add the amendment mentioned to the motion, please.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll withdraw my original support and lend it to the support to the amended agenda.
Okay, we have a withdrawal and then we have an amended support of the motion to add information in regards to borrowing money for item number in item number 3 under A. So we'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll have 5 items under Finance and Administration Committee for our business session. Any further discussion?
I'm emailing that motion out right now. My apologies.
Okay, Commissioners Hope and Jelazinski, make sure you check your emails. And the
Okay.
rest of you commissioners do that too, if you can. So what we'll do is we'll probably just have a few moments to make sure everyone can pull it up before we get to that. If that would be after we finish item number 2 under section 7.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, hearing and seeing no further discussion. All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. We have an agenda. Next up, general public comments. These comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anybody who is speaking, please list your name and address. Nicole, do we have, and also I would like to caution that the commissioners will in most likelihood not be responding. This is for comment only. Nicole, do we have anybody on the line?
We have lots of folks in the meeting this afternoon. I do not see anyone with their hand raised, and we have no callers at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. We'll just wait a few more moments and then we'll move on. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the general public comment portion of the work session and move on to presentations and special reports. First up, Isabella County Administrator Controller Report. Margaret, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do apologize again for the late addition, so my apologies. I will keep my statements, my report very brief. I know that we have a long agenda today. So just so all the commissioners know, I have sent that additional motion out. I copied it to the clerk and to the deputy clerk. If you have any problem, Clerk Lux, with either one of those later motions that came out, let me know. Thank you so much. So I would just want the Board of Commissioners to know, again, in honor of your long agenda today, that we are, continuing to do the ongoing everyday activities that happen in the Administrator Controller's office. In addition to that, we are working hard, obviously, maintaining and continuing to work on the building-related project regarding the Sheriff's Office and the correctional facility, working some on that. That special use permit and the site plan are going to the Planning Commission at Union Township today. And I know that Commissioner Hope is going to comment later on our liaison meeting yesterday. That was very, I thought, informative and interesting. We're continuing to have some discussions regarding the American Rescue Plan. Working on, as I said, day-to-day activities. I will be honest with you, a lot of time and energy is going into trying to get prepared and starting to work on the budget for next year. We've started our budget meetings. The next 2 weeks, that will be a great effort on behalf of our team and all of the elected officials and department heads who have those meetings and participate in them. I want to thank them all for getting all of their requests in a very timely manner. And we're looking forward to meeting with them individually. That's what I like to do, to have an opportunity to have them present what it is their wants and their needs and their desires are and how we're going to pay for it. And those are always great meetings. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And other than that, it's just the usual and customary business. I generally, until the last couple of months, always had a laundry list of every outside group I've met with. And I just kind of stopped doing that the last couple of months, but I'm going to try to pick that up again and give you a more detailed listing. But, continuing to represent the county on a number of boards and commissions. which I think is very useful for us being at that table. I don't know if I made this announcement before, but the airport board that the Board of Commissioners joined last year, I was elected the chairperson. That's all of about an hour and a half effort a month. So it's not very taxing. It's just to manage the meeting. They have a great airport manager at the Mount Pleasant Airport. And so I don't want you to think that's a big time constraint. It isn't, but we're moving forward. We're keeping all the balls in the air. And I just want to thank everybody for their assistance and their support. And we appreciate it. Now to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioners, any questions for the county administrator controller? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will move on out of that and move into committee reports. First up, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item is consider ratifying and placing on file the May 28th, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $264,001.21. The June 4th, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $212,566.19. And the adjustment list dated June 10th, 2021. So taking a look at each of these individually, the May 28th list has our Preston Community Services monthly equalization contract, our HATS bi-weekly payment, Isabella Bank West drain debt payment. There's a Beltnick drain debt payment to Commercial Bank. Dutt and Hart drain debt payment also to Commercial Bank, and then Golder Associates landfill groundwater monitoring report, and that's for the landfill that the drain commissioner takes care of out there in the western part of the county. KCI, the summer 2021 tax bills postage from Central Services. And then we have a couple public defender appointments and a refund of a PRE denial per state treasury. That is the personal residence exemption. And then Redwood Toxicology Laboratory drug testing supplies for the trial court. Moving on to the June 4th list. We have our Verizon Wireless monthly payment, JP Morgan Chase, credit card charges, State of Michigan May Circuit Court transmittals, Mission Creek Drain Engineering Services for Land and Resources Engineering, Kenny Trucking and Excavating, Sanders Drain Repairs, Dice Excavating invoice for Parcher Drain repairs, Wright Express FSC monthly gasoline credit card charges, Benford Land Services, the first installment payment for forfeiture title services for the Treasurer's Office, Specialized Loan Servicing LLC foreclosure purchase for the Treasurer's Office. And then we also have the State of Michigan May District in probate court transmittals. COVID expenditures at the bottom of that list is $751.45. COVID expenditures on the previous list from May 28th was $7,895.38. So we continue to track those costs very carefully. And then moving on to the adjustment list is mostly Gordon Food Service early payment discount. And then we're also paying the Mount Pleasant Water Department bills early to avoid late fees there. Same with DTE Energy. And then there were a few invoices increased or decreased due to data entry errors. Invoices decreased due to sales tax being mistakenly added. Obviously, as a public entity, we don't pay sales tax. And then Diversified Marine Construction, a manual check for $19,900 for marine boat patrol. And that came from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe grant boat for the Sheriff's Department. So we thank the tribe for that. And then the June 4th list is also mostly Gordon Food Service. And a couple of invoices decreased, one to a calculating error, and then a couple invoices decreased due to sales tax being added mistakenly. So any questions? I know I ran through those kind of quickly. Any questions on any of those invoice lists or the adjustment list? Okay, hearing none, that item will move forward to tonight's agenda.
The second item is consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 21-06-02, authorizing the issuance of bond anticipation note series 2021, declaring official intent to issue said note in amount not to exceed $6 and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Margaret, do you want to take this on, please? I can tell you, I know what it's all about. It's
You're muted, Margaret. I'm sorry.
Yes,
okay.
you go ahead, Commissioner, and then I'll jump in. If you'd like to go ahead, you go ahead.
Okay, I know we've gotten to a cash flow issue because we've been paying off the bills for the architectural service, engineering services. We're looking at buying property, and these are all costs that we've incurred, and we need to somehow make ourselves whole so that we do have adequate funding to pay the other bills of the county. So this is a note that I think has a three-year lifespan, maximum time that needs to be paid off. But hopefully by that time, we'll be going forward with our regular bond for the sheriff's office and correctional facility, and we'll have the funds to pay this off, and we'll get out of a financial situation we're currently in. Margaret, take it from
Well, you
there.
did a great job with that, Commissioner. Nice. You did a good job. I will say, just in case anyone is interested or the Board of Commissioners have any questions, our bond counsel is on the call and he's here. Eric is here with us. And I believe that Andy is here from Baker Tilly, our financial advisor. So just in case anyone had any questions, as I often say, I did not listen to my mom and go to law school. So we have the attorney here, and Andy's a great financial advisor. So if the commissioners have any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer them. Other than that, I think Commissioner Jelesinski did a great job.
Quick question, Commissioner Jelesinski?
Commissioner Horton?
Yes, Mr. McLaughlin. How common, is this a common situation for, I know counties don't often build jails that often, one county doesn't, I think it's been 1959. But in construction alone, is this just I'm looking at something like this as like a, for lack of a better term, a bridge loan or something similar, is that, but in county terms, is that what we're looking at here?
Yes, that's correct. And it is a common financing strategy used in order to pay the kind of initial preliminary costs of getting a long-term construction project going and keep the momentum moving on the project. Yes, it is common.
Okay, thank you.
I have, are you finished, Commissioner Horton?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Commissioner Jelesinski, come on.
I have a question. Is there a percentage that when you go on the open market that you would pay for this type of short-term loan? What is the going rate for that percent?
That type of question is specifically within the purview of the county's financial advisor, Andy Campbell at Baker Tilly, and I'll defer to his answer for that question, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you.
That would be Andy with the phone call, I'm guessing, down there.
Andy, did you hear the question? You're muted. Andy? There you go.
Yep.
There he goes.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
We can hear you.
All right. I'm on the road. Sorry about that. So, yep, the interest rate, we're going to do a two-step approach here. because of the county desiring funds as soon as possible, we are recommending that you approach your local bank, which is Isabella Bank, and to potentially work with them directly. We're going to be working with Margaret and Nicole to make sure that the interest rate is a market rate. I will say that in talks with the working group, so myself, Eric, Nicole, Margaret, we talked about 2.5% or less was the target. I think that that's a reasonable rate to get below that. I do think that hopefully it's going to be less than that, but that is the goal, to work with Isabella Bank and to negotiate that rate with them, have the county negotiate that rate to an acceptable range around 2%.
Thank you. Margaret, Commissioner.
I would just
McAvoy?
want to clarify that we are in discussions with Isabella Bank and Trust. That started last week, and I reported that to the Finance Committee, as you will recall. We're in great discussions with them, which is, when I was in discussions about 5 minutes before this meeting started, a phone call from them, which is why we added the next motion. They are very, very, very helpful, very supportive, want to do this. And so, yes, they are who we will be working with. They have been phenomenally supportive and interested.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move this forward then to the regular meeting tonight. Oh, Eric, please.
I had a question regarding more of a comment regarding the motion that is coming up next. That motion will also require an amendment, a motion to amend resolution number 21-06-02. And the reason for that is resolution number 21-06-02 has been drafted such that the authority for signing a sale order on the day of sale of the bond anticipation note to Isabella Bank, that has been drafted so that the county administrator and the deputy county administrator have the authority to sign a written order finally establishing the details of the bond anticipation note and awarding the note to a bank or some other purchaser. And if this motion, if the desire is for the board chair to sign that order, then we would need to amend that resolution to expressly provide for that, because he is not currently expressly provided for in the resolution.
Margaret.
Just to clarify, and I, Eric is the attorney. I will tell you, this is not a negative comment, it's a very positive comment. Isabella Bank and Trust has been wonderful to work with. I shipped them all these documents on Friday, so they got an opportunity to see everything. I had a phone call just shortly before this meeting, and Eric, I'm sure that you're probably right, but what the bank told me was that they need a motion, exactly as I just sent out to the Board of Commissioners, to move to approve the borrow, in addition to the bond resolution. They need a separate motion, the bank does. Move to approve the borrowing of up to $6,000 from Isabella Bank and Trust bond anticipation note resolution 21-06-02, and authorize the board chair to sign on behalf of Isabella County. So you don't have that, Eric, because I just got it moments before. I wrote that and just emailed it to the commissioners, just maybe as the meeting was started. So I think that you and Nicole had a discussion yesterday about adding Chairman Horton's name to the resolution signature. I wanted to have his signature added to that because he is the board chair. If we need to do an amendment to the resolution to include what I just read, that would need to happen between this meeting and tonight's 7 o'clock meeting to get that document to the board. I'm just forwarding what the bank told me today.
It's consistent with what I just said. And the resolution that's on the agenda for this evening, resolution number 21-06-02, can be amended by verbal motion at the time of adoption.
Okay.
So it'd be a motion to amend to add the board chair as an authorized officer for purposes of the sale order under section 11 of that resolution. And then as so amended, motion and support for adoption of that resolution. And that would cover both resolution 21-06-02 and the resolution requested by Isabella Bank. In terms of how they function together. That's my concern, because they as they are written, they currently conflict. The verbal amendment to resolution 21-06-02 would correct that.
So I think the communication between our administrator controller, McAvoy, and yourself would probably going to be heated up as soon as we adjourn to get this right for the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, if I could just add that, I would agree with Commissioner Jelazinski and as in regards to for this evening, let's make sure we have I's and T's and all the I's dotted and T's crossed, and we want to do this right. So as everyone knows, while time is of the essence on this, because this is our last board meeting until the third Tuesday in July. So that's why we're kind of, this is obviously very important to us, so we can with this matter. So yeah, let's make sure that's all correct, so we don't have to look at this again. So
We're going to continue with the new motion as written for now.
I think so. I guess so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or Margaret, do you have another comment?
No.
All right. Hearing no other questions, we'll move this then forward to tonight's meeting.
Okay, and that brings us to the new number 3, which is consider approving the borrowing of up to $6 million from Isabella Bank and Trust per bond and anticipation note resolution number 21-06-02 and authorize the board chair to sign on behalf of Isabella County.
okay, Eric.
Yeah, Commissioner Horn.
Eric, if you want to unmute yourself, I don't know if you see this or not, or have a copy of this. Is this what we're adding and supplementing? It's just kind of all flying in together. Is that we're going to see this evening?
So what we're adding right now is what came from the bank moments before the meeting started. So I understand what Eric is saying, and Eric and I can talk after the meeting to make sure. This exact lingo is exactly the wording word for word the bank gave me. So just to make me not be concerned between now and tonight, I would like to know, is there I don't see any harm in for the work session approving this motion now. And then we end up not putting it on the agenda tonight. I see no harm, no foul in that. But in case in discussions, we want to have this on tonight, I would prefer to see the possibility that it could be there. I'm just concerned that the bank made it very clear what they wanted this motion to be. Just trying to double cover.
Right. Commissioner Horn.
Yes, I don't see a problem. If it, with the amount of money in this type of project that we're doing, let's make sure we're getting this right. And I don't see a problem with doing what we're doing now. Is for basically formality or similar situation. Maybe that's not the proper term, but like I said, I's and T's dotted when it comes time for the business session tonight, and get this right. So I'd be in favor of this.
Mr. McLaughlin, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the bank has been very accommodating in dealing with the county, and I don't see an issue with accommodating them by adding the language that they have requested. And I can talk after this meeting with Margaret about how to coordinate both the resolution before you approving the bond anticipation note and the resolution that they've requested as well, which was the intent of my comments previously, but I can work with that after the meeting, and it will be just as you wished, Chairman Horton.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh,
I have a question,
yes, Commissioner Marino.
because I read on the item that it's 6 million, and then I heard the term 6,000. Which one is it?
million.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing else, and that item will move forward to tonight's agenda.
Item number 4 is consider approving the $4,706,429 in American Rescue Plan funds to be reimbursed to Isabella County for $16,969 of COVID-19 expenditures, $1,132,172 in public safety payroll, and $3,557,288 in lost revenues. Is Steve here, our CPA? Yeah.
Steve is going to handle, Mr. Chair, Mr. Commissioner, Steve will handle the part about the lost. That's the format that Steve developed. As far, I could cover the COVID expenses.
Please do.
Public safety. So these COVID expenses of $16,969.00 are the result of non-reimbursed COVID expenditures since March 3rd of this year, because we can't go back further than that for the rescue plan dollars. So those are dollars that we're not going to have reimbursed from somewhere else for the COVID expenses that you see on your invoice lists. So that's what that is for. The $1,132,172 is the public safety payroll at the sheriff's office since March 3rd. The reimbursement for those payroll expenses for the public safety employees are very clearly stated in the Department of Treasury interim rule, and you all got copies of the NACO assessment of all that highlighted. I know it was a big document, but I thought you would be appreciative of seeing all that. So these are this amount is, you know, an exact calculation from our payroll. So we know that that is the amount that has been paid. We are, you know, the interim rule refers to, as in your documents do, regarding those expenses that are related from public safety to addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, and the fact that it can be based on an entire unit, not necessarily on individual employees, and that individual time records are not required, that attestation of a supervisor or I'm trying to think of the other word, supervisors or staff are acceptable. The sheriff has been attending a sheriff's training conference educational opportunity the last couple of days. I did send him a draft of an attestation, and I know that he is going to want to put that in his words, as he certainly should. I just sent him an example. So I have not had an opportunity to follow up with him, but if you would authorize this, then, you know, whatever he attests to up to that amount would be something that we would be utilizing. So those are those two categories, and it's a very reasonable thing for us to do. Mr. Karanovich did the lost revenue calculation, and I know that he had a discussion of that at finance, and it was very useful discussion. We're utilizing Governmental Financial Officers Association recommendation of the procedure for doing that. And Mr. Commissioner Hope and Commissioner Jablonski, if it's okay with you, I'd like to turn over this part of the discussion to Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Margaret.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was talked at the work session, but I know we've talked at it or talked about it at finance, that we initially started, you know, once the IFR came out and there was the formula put together to calculate the lost revenue component. We started compiling, putting a spreadsheet together, and then by the grace of they came out, GFOA came out with a spreadsheet, and so we halted, you know, spending our time and obviously your dollars to prepare a spreadsheet when a very respectable organization such as the GFOA had already prepared it, and so we're utilizing that and taking your numbers and have plugged that in, and basically and I won't go through a lot. We went through a lot of detail at finance, and so I won't go through, that much detail now. I can, share as much as you want, but I don't want to bore you with a lot of the details. But basically, one of the components of the rescue plan is utilization of the lost revenue dollars, and so what they do is you take your last fiscal year prior to the pandemic, which in your case was September 30 of 2019. And that's what's considered your base year. And we look back 3 years. So we go back 18, 17, and 16 to get a trend, so to speak, and somewhat similar to what we did with the forecast, and so we look at that 16, 17, 18, 19 is your base year, and then we compare it to 2020 and annualize that to see, based on the trend, what would your revenues have been in 2020 without the pandemic. And so we did that analysis, and also within the IFR, what they did was they said, make that calculation, see what your trend is. If your trend of your increased revenue on a year-by-year basis is less than 4.1%, use 4.1% as your increase. If your trend is more than 4.1%, then use that percentage. So if we would have been trending, which would have been wonderful, if we would have been trending a 10% increase each year for the last 4 years, we would use 10%. And if we had anything less than 4.1, you get at least a minimum of 4.1% of an increase. And I think your percent was around 3%, 2.6 in my head, something like that. So we're allowed to use that 4.1% projected increase, and the term they use is counterfactual revenue, which is something I had to look up. But the projected revenue that you would have had in 2020 without the pandemic. So based on that analysis, entity-wide, we did the calculation, and as it says in your agenda, that revenue reduction number is that $3,557,288 to be your component of the American Rescue Plan lost revenue calculation. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more detail, but I won't. Like I said, we talk about it ad nauseum. I think at the Finance Committee. I'm happy to talk about it more. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to share anything that you'd like. But I don't want to get too deep into the weeds at work session. So
I guess the only comment that I would like to make is it'd be interesting to see what all the other sheriff's departments across the nation will have as a percentage. I don't think the feds are going to be able to go back and make that determination because one department says 100%, but they're probably going to look at the aggregate of all those departments and question the outliners at the top and bottom. But it'd be nice if we had 100% of our road patrol and correctional payroll and fringe benefits covered, but I guess we'll yet to see how that comes out. I know when we did look at the GFOA calculator, the base amount was like $61 million, which means it was not only the county's general fund, but it was all its other associated funds and other associated allied operations, including probably the Road Commission, Commission on Aging, Parks and Recreation. Probably could go on and on. And I know we talked about, that $3,557,288, maybe putting it in a special fund, using it for special projects. As I thought more and more about it, this is just expressing my opinion. It seems like it would be the fair thing to do is to make those other agencies whole by providing them with the amount of money that they lost in their particular operations. We were all kind of hurt by the pandemic. And, when you think about Parks and Recreation, Commission on Aging, if they've had lost revenues, I'd certainly like to make them whole. But that's a decision that the county board will have to make in the future. And my understanding is it is not a requirement of ARP. But from perspective, it seems like the way to go. Steve, you had.
Right, and just to kind of dovetail right into that, Commissioner, that is I know it went out to the Finance Committee. I'm not sure if it went out to the whole board, but there were 59 questions. It was an Excel spreadsheet that was kind of landscape that had questions and answers on it. I'm not sure if that went out to all the commissioners, but and I'd be happy to share it if it didn't, but I feel like it did. One of the things they discuss in there is, yeah, that is it's entity wide. So it's for the county, it's your, what we call the primary government, and then all your component units, and which is, as you had mentioned, Commissioner, those various entities. Those various entities are getting other dollars. For instance, you mentioned like the road commission is getting, I think, some infrastructure dollars. Medical care facility is getting what's called PRF funding, which is the provider relief funding. So they are getting, other pieces of the whether it's the coronavirus relief funds or in the ARP funding or the CARES funding, whatever the funding mechanism is, they are getting some dollars there, and some of them, very substantial dollars, federal dollars are coming into them through various different pots of money. But one of the biggest things, as you had said, that the Q&A talks about is that analysis is really separate. Is the calculation of lost revenue is a number, and then it doesn't really have a bearing on the spend of those dollars. And so you're exactly correct. If that's something that the commissioners decide to do some certain things with that money, yes, it's not tied directly to, like you said, Park and Rec has X, their loss was X. You don't have to make them whole, and really that's not part of the analysis on an individual fund by fund basis. It's more of an entity wide that the terminology that they use is I'm drawing a blank on, but it's basically to the betterment and the benefit of the entity as a whole. That's kind of the gist.
If the county board would decide to go in that direction, you would be able to pull those figures out of the calculator?
We should be able to do that. It might take a little doing, but we can do just about anything, Commissioner. So we can, whatever I'm tasked with, as Chairman Horton knows, I know he likes my spreadsheet. So as whatever I'm asked to do, I think I can accommodate for sure.
You never fail to surprise.
Thank you.
Margaret? I would just want to add that there's in my head, there's a difference between the different parts of our county organization, whether it's the general fund, Commission on Aging, Parks and Rec, whatever, as compared to the other component units. So other components units like the road commission, medical care facility that Mr. Kranovich were talking about, they're getting direct funds through either whichever mechanism that's going to be. And also, the medical care facility is getting funds. The road commission is getting funds. ICTC is getting funds. They're getting funds through the American Rescue Plan or another configuration of that. We kind of talked about, and I don't want to steal the thunder from the other commissioners about the liaison meeting yesterday. Villages and cities and townships haven't gotten their funding yet. Counties, those of us who were determined as entitlement counties under the Act, have received part of our funds. So, when we're looking at this, I think that we might want to be talking as we move forward here that, I think that, we might want to look at, and I can understand why we would like to do that. Look at our part of the piece of the pie. But I can assure you, I'll just use the road commission as an example. They're going to have their own piece of pie coming directly in another configuration as a component unit. But as far as these other funds that are part of Isabella County government, whether it's the Parks and Recs or it's Commission on Aging or whatever, I do think we ought to circle back and have that discussion, Commissioner. I agree with you.
Other questions, please. Commissioner Horton.
Commissioner, thank you. Real quick, my understanding, and this is going to the public safety payroll point portion. Margaret, I believe you mentioned that you and the sheriff have not determined a number yet, but right now our motion to this evening right now we're considering up to that amount. Is that, I had that in mind. Did I remember that correctly from Finance Administration? Was up to that amount?
So let's say the attestation, when we chat about it, comes back, okay, you know, and again, the interim rule says that we can use the entire department, the entire sheriff's office. I mean, that could be the interpretation of the entire sheriff's office. However, in addition, the sheriff needs to do an attestation on what percentage of his different divisions. So it certainly wouldn't be over $1 million. It might be, it wouldn't be over that figure. It might be less than that figure.
Okay, so that's an up to figure, so that's.
It is an
actually-
up to, absolutely.
Very good. Okay.
Commissioner Holt.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I just want to say, Steve, thanks for all the work you put into this. And I appreciate your amenability in agreeing to extract whatever data we want to see in the future. I appreciate that cooperation. Also, I just want to say I'm thankful that the American Rescue Plan really took into account county government, because oftentimes these federal stimulus plans forget all about counties, and this particular plan did not forget about us.
Commissioner Marino.
Jim, you're muted.
Yeah, we talked a lot of it and most of it, and it all had to do with NACO, you know, directly negotiating and lobbying the Treasury Department. So that's why we are, what did you say, entitled classification or something like that?
We were an entitlement county, which meant that we were entitled to the share up front. Now, other counties were not entitlement, but very few. But cities and townships were not entitlement municipalities. So you're right, it's very unusual. And we're very thankful for the efforts that NACO did on behalf of county government. Absolutely.
I guess we'll see if there's other questions, but kind of a closing statement. I've been trying to get down and learn quite a bit about the ARP and what was eligible and how to get to these dollar amounts. And as they were talking about looking at the aggregate, I mean, it got very confusing. But then I found MAC basically came out and said, use the GFOA calculator. That's what their recommendation. So I don't only have confidence in the calculator, but I also have confidence in Steve that it's been applied correctly. So
Thank you.
any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move this then on to tonight's meeting.
Okay, and that brings us to item number 5, which is consider approving the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment, transferring $800,395 from the delinquent tax revolving fund into the general fund, and authorize board chair to sign the same. We found ourselves with revenue being a little slow, mostly due to COVID this year. And of course, most of our revenue doesn't come in till the July taxes. So being a little short on cash and having sufficient funds in the delinquent tax revolving fund, we want to transfer that figure, $800,395 to the general fund. Yeah, Commissioner Jelezinski.
I know in the committee meeting, this is a lot of money, and I know we've had issue with this before, transferring those dollars, but I did ask county administration whether the county treasurer's office had been consulted on this, and the answer was no. And I thought that was kind of strange, not to ask a county department that's managing a fund to weigh in on this kind of, this kind of transfer. And I see Mr. Pickens is here today and would like to hear what he has to say in terms of what the recommendation is.
Commissioner Horton.
I may add on this regards, as far as a point of order goes, and as far as what we normally do with finance and administration or any other department, we had a section of public comment, and Mr. Treasurer Pickens did not take that opportunity to speak. I'm not opposed to having to speak. However, I would like to have it limited. Mr. Treasurer Pickens, if you can keep your facial expressions to a professional level, I'd appreciate it. if, it's even to do 3 minutes if we possibly could. I mean, if the commissioners are okay with that. I mean, he's not anywhere here on the agenda. I will state also that opportunities were there to reach out. I tried to reach out to Treasurer Pickens this week in regards to other matters besides this, and also this matter. Failure, I guess, to get back to me and or try to schedule a meeting is, I don't want to go too much into that. Obviously, he has a very busy schedule, so we'll just leave it at that. But I'm not opposed to it. I just say I don't want to continue this to be a long discussion on the matter. I think we also have to be very careful because there are some litigation issues still possibly ongoing. So anything that comes up in this matter, I don't think should be discussed. But Commissioner Hope, this is your committee, and I want to defer to you on this. But I would like to, if we can, Treasurer Pickens, if you would keep in mind a 3-minute level, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm fine with that as you outlined.
Is it okay to speak?
Yes, sir.
Well, it just a little bit of understanding here is when you have the sheriff, you talk to the sheriff. When you have Jan Crawford, you talk to Jan Crawford. You contact all the other departments, but you don't contact the county treasurer. There, that's it. My question is on it. Mr. Krinovich had said that he hasn't updated his listing yet to determine a surplus or not. I have concerns with that. I also have concerns that you've just received, you're going to put into motion tonight, $4.7 million going into your budget. The 800 and some $1,000, it's not needed for you that I can see. The explanation that was given in the finance committee was you were going to put $500,000 in your budget, but you didn't. And the board passed that budget. And then you're going to put $300,395 of attrition that you put into your budget to balance your budget. I mean, if the pennies from heaven didn't come from the ARP stuff, I could understand asking for the full 800 and some thousand, but you're not out the 500,000 because you didn't budget it. And the 300,000 was an approval by the board to have that attrition, which I think it was mentioned that that's not going to happen. Those are my 2 cents on taking the monies out of the delinquent tax revolving fund. Other than the fact that if you would have taken the $500,000 at the time last budget period, we would have been delayed in our settlements. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Any other? Yeah, Commissioner Jazinski.
I guess I do have a question for the treasurer. I guess this is my 7th year on the board, and I have not known the county treasurer's office to be an adversary in use of the delinquent tax funds. I know that when it came to the lawsuit that was pending, I think there was some caution expressed, and with that, an indication that there should not be a withdrawal from that fund pending the outcome of that lawsuit. Well, the lawsuit was lost, so we're having to deal with that yet. But at the meeting, we had some identification of $1 million in cash and CD and $4,861,781 in a fund balance, which kind of suggests to me that we're closing on $6 million. Is that correct, or do you have the ability to give up that 800,000 plus?
I don't think ability is what you guys are trying to determine in the court case, but we have a little over $2 million in the receivables, and we have $1.8 million in cash. Taking $800,000 of that would leave me $1 million in cash and $200,000 or $2 million in receivables. If you understand that receivables are the issuance of cash down the road, because what I collect becomes cash. You'll also need to look and see that at the March time for settlement, we usually run about $1 million in receivables before I buy out the taxes from all the other local units. I paid $3.8 million this year out in taxes. The math doesn't add up to leave that there's a surplus in that account.
Yeah, Administrator McAvoy.
I don't really care to weigh in on a discussion. That's the Board of Commissioners discussion. I will just state that the figures that I gave Finance Committee were 4,861,781 in fund balance and 1.8 million in cash, of which 800,000 was a CD. So we were close on those, Commissioner. I just wanted to clarify that's what was in the BSNA software when we asked that question on Thursday. So that's what I said in the meeting.
Thanks for that clarification. Commissioner Swaney, I believe you had your hand up a while ago. Do you still have a question?
I think Commissioner Jolozinski covered it mostly. I wanted to know what the Treasurer Pickens believed was available in the balance to be put into general funds. I think that's his position here, not necessarily tell us what we do with our finances and where it comes from. The money that he has in delinquent tax fund, I think is proven to be public's money and not his money. So his position here, what I want to hear is what he believes is a reasonable amount, not zero.
Thank you, Mr. Swaney. Any other questions or comments from any commissioners? Commissioner Horton.
Yes, real quick. Mr. Steve Karinovich, I believe, has prepared spreadsheets in the past detailing these amounts and what's been available and what's been pulled, what we do have available. And I think the Board of Commissioners have to pay close attention to that. And not, again, none of us want to see that delinquent tax revolving fund go away. Obviously, we want to continue to use that. That is a portion in the future for our jail funding. So that is a very big, important part of our future as far as our fiscal policies and our fiscal, what's the term I'm looking for? Fiscal planning, good fiscal policy. So I think that's all going to go away. I do think though it comes down to what the Board of Commissioners decide is a fund balance in this account. What's a surplus in this account? That is for the 7 members of this Board of Commissioners to decide. Given the fact that, yes, we are seeking other dollars to make available, but at the same time, other things happen and we need to be, as a county board, we cannot have certain things happen and I think in our finance administration committee, we use the term such as, I don't think we use the term crisis, but concerns and other things to deal with this short acute problem with our cash flow. So anything that we can do as Board of Commissioners to ease that burden and to continue on in the strong financial shape that this county is in, we have to do. And I think this is one way to do it. I think it's been proven over the several years that there has been more than zero in that fund. So I am in support of this. I will be in support of this, and I would like, hope that the other commissioners feel the same way.
Thank you. Commissioner Engler.
Yeah, I have one question for maybe Steve, and that is receivables. How much of those are delinquent and are currently gaining interest rates on that? Do you have that figure on there? Something to get?
Getting what? You cut out on me, Mr. Engler.
Yeah, about only half the people are moving on my screen right now, so I'm trying to get through there. On the money that's receivable, how much of them are delinquent and are receiving interest?
Everything that's in the fund is the delinquent portion. The receivables portion, we are receiving interest from the monthly interest mandated state fee for each one of those. Last year at this time, I had $3 million in receivables. This year, I only have $2 million in receivables. And again, receivables result.
Is that
I'm sorry.
right? Is that currently No, like I said, I'm having trouble with my computer here, but is that still getting, what, 1.5% interest a month? Is that correct, or
1% per month. Yes.
1%? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Steve. That's it. That's my question.
Thank you. Commissioner Jelzinski, did you have a hand up earlier?
Yes, I did. Just a kind of a closing comment. You know, we have to operate as a team. We have to respect each other. I guess I'm kind of concerned the fact that one of the elected officials was not invited to participate at the committee meeting when this first came up. We had to make a comment where, well, we have this for anybody else, that that person that was speaking on an issue only had 3 minutes to do so. I think that is unfortunate. It just shows that we're not operating as a team, and there needs to be some changes. That's my comment.
Well, I'll just
I'm sorry.
add to that. I know that the chair did reach out to Mr. Pickens and try to talk to him this week. Maybe those attempts were not successful. I don't know what happened there. I won't speak for the chairman, but that was my understanding.
If I could also add too,
Yep.
Commissioner Jelzinski, I was well aware that I made that statement on the 3 minutes. However, we're well, I believe, into 10 minutes into this. So, I mean, those statements are made for a reason, just so we keep everything professional. And I think we did this in this meeting. That was good. I mean, that you can look at that as a guideline, I guess. And when I made that statement, that is a hard and fast rule. Again, I agree with the situation of working as a team. It does no good for this county, between elected officials, department heads, employees, anybody, to be feuding. Disagreements are good. I mean, I think disagreements and working disagreements to get to a common good for the community is what we're all here for. I don't think anybody on this screen that I can see or by the names want to do this county any harm. I think we're all in favor of that. I think it's 100% in agreement. So again, Treasurer Pickens, as county chair and also as a county commissioner, you know, there's been some issues over the years with officials in this community, and I think it's time for that to end. I think we need to work as a team, move forward, get this going. Keep in mind that we are doing something, and I'll throw this out there, and I probably don't, Commissioner Hope, if I can just take a couple more moments on this.
Absolutely.
We are building something in this community called a jail, and it has been unlike something, I don't know if we've anticipated this, but we're we're accompanying situations as we go, and we're overcoming them. One being a location of different sites. COVID, that was another situation that delayed us. Thinking that we could take money out of our rainy day fund or our unfunded fund balance, or excuse me, our unaccounted for fund balance, and cover everything. That was our initial plan. Well, we're into the stages now where, we're acute, where we're payroll is becoming an issue. Anybody that runs a business knows the first 3 rules of any business is you make payroll, you make payroll, you make payroll. So I do state, yes, the county is doing everything they can to bring in revenue, but we also have this revenue here that I believe is very well accounted for, that we can pull, we can declare a surplus, and that we can use. And I think we need to do this. If delinquent tax revolving fund needs issues down the road, we can address that as a board. But this is the 7 board members' determination what is here. Again, though, going forward, Treasurer Pickens, I reach out as an olive branch to you tonight and say, let's meet. Let's get our schedules together. You and I meet, and let's get this solved. But we can't have this in our county. And and I will state that I will do whatever it takes to schedule a meeting with you, and we'll go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pickens, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
I appreciate the offer, to meet with you again, Jim, because I know we met before when you wouldn't take any other information, I'll be glad to meet with you. My schedule is not, I'm here every day. I'm not afforded the privilege of meeting in your living room and dining room and kitchens. I'm here every day. And I did have a pretty busy schedule here for the first 3 days of this week. And so I couldn't schedule until I get through this week. I'll be glad to sit down with you at any time and discuss these things as long as we can communicate back and forth.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I see nothing. So, Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward to tonight's agenda. And Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, everyone, for your fine input. Next up, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
All right, the Criminal Justice and County Affairs. Our first item is consider authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2022 Adult Treatment Court Grant Application, the estimated amount of $126,672. We have Terry Curtis and Kate Mitchell here to tell us about the grant application.
Good evening.
Terry, please start.
Thank you. It's a pretty standard application, similar to what we've done in previous years. We are asking for a little more money for drug testing, but we may not need it now that we're open to the public. So we're super excited about that. Right now we're operating on an award amount of $66,500. And so we're asking for twice that and hoping to secure some more funds. Last year we asked for $119,962, but so there's not more funds available, but there are more applicants for the funds. So we've really worked on trying to improve our grant application and figure out how we can try to secure a little bit more of that pie. But we will be able to operate if we receive about the same as we did this year. We're just hoping to be able to do a little bit more.
Kate Mitchell, did you want to add anything to that?
I agree with what Ms. Curtis said. I mean, I can tell you some about the program if anybody's doesn't know about it.
Yeah,
Or if you
I
have
think
questions.
that Commissioner Hutchinson's new this year. Might be good to tell a little bit about the program.
Sure. Drug Court was created in 2003. It's an intensive treatment-based program. The individuals on the program either have a drug or alcohol abuse diagnosis. While in the program, the individuals are required to attend counseling. They attend either NA, AA, or self-help meetings. They complete some community service hours. They report in and see me 3 days a week just to keep them on track. Twice a month, they meet with the judge and we do review hearings. We drug test 2 to 3 times a week. And while in the program, the individuals are required to either attend work or school.
Right, and in the subcommittee meeting, we talked about how they're also supporting people in the program, helping find ways that they transportation, food, and basic services there. They're helping find those needs and provide them too, which is really helpful across the board. I think at this stage for all those people. Are there any other questions from the board? All right. I don't see any. We'll move that on to the regular session tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 2, consider authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2022 Juvenile Treatment Court grant application in the estimated amount of $107,621.54. Again, we have Terry Curtis and Maria Reiser.
So again,
Who would
this,
like to- Yep.
I'm sorry. So for many years, and I'll let Maria tell you a little bit about the program here in a second. We are operating right now on an $88,000 grant award. Last year's application was $101,809. So again, we are asking for a little bit more due to the increased cost of drug testing that we've been doing outside of the court for the last 18, 19 months, whatever it is now. But since we are open to the public, we are going to be able to kind of tone that down a little bit. We won't have as many outside drug testing costs. There's also a defense attorney portion that we're asking for this year to help encourage our local defense attorney to attend more meetings, but Maria has a little bit more information about that. So if you don't have any financial questions, I'll let her talk.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. So much like the adult drug court, the juvenile drug court is also an intensive program. And we try to balance counseling with the judicial end of things. The juvenile drug court became operational in April of 2006. And we have a treatment team that meets twice a week just before the hearings that reviews the progress of the youth and then will make recommendations to Judge Black on actions to take during that evening's hearing, because the process is a democratic one, with all the team members kind of weighing in on what response to take with the youth as they have earned sanctions or incentives. The program is a phase-based program. It starts pretty low intensive, and then it becomes most intensive during the middle part of the program. And then towards the end of the program, we back off and try to fade out and allow the juvenile to kind of step up on their own and continue the changes that they've made. We utilize counseling. We are heavily involved with their schooling. We have members of the school on our treatment team. They are drug tested 2 to 3 times a week. And they meet with me a minimum of twice a week as well. Our hearings, of course, the past year have been through Zoom. That has been difficult when working with minors because I think they don't really quite feel the real, so to speak, in a Zoom format. But it has worked out, as best as we can hope. When Ms. Curtis talked about the monies for the defense attorney, what I'm specifically asking for is to augment the monies that are already there to help cover her time in the review hearings. So we have time covered for her participation in the team meetings. She's part of our team, but this is to help cover her costs to attend those bi-monthly review hearings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the commissioners? All right. Seeing none, we'll move that forward to the regular session tonight. Thank you very much for explaining the program.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Item number 3, consider authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2022 Swift Insure Sanctions Program grant application in the estimated amount of $205,000. Here we have Terry Curtis and Carolyn Johnson. Tell us about the application.
Thank you. So this year's application is, as the Commissioner mentioned, for $205,000, slight increase from our application from last year of $203,000. We are operating on a $200,000 grant. The change is due to some increased drug testing requests to try to offset the extra costs we've incurred for the outside testing. So, and Carolyn can just tell you more about the program.
Hi, everyone. Our program is a totally grant funded program, and it has been since it started in 2011. It's a specialty court program that we have for probationers that have demonstrated an inability or unwillingness to comply. So we are strictly a sanctions-based program. However, we are working with them on community resources, counseling. We help them to try to eliminate barriers such as employment, places to live. Our program is 18 months, but if you go through the program with 12 months with no violations, then we look at discharging them from the program. But it is a sanctions-based program. So if they know upfront what their sanctions will be, we're hoping that they're less likely to violate because they know what they are upfront. Jail is the sanction, It's 4 days if they admit, 15 days if they deny, and then at least 30 days if they abscond. So I don't know, I think we're feeling pretty good about our testing. Even through COVID, our numbers have remained very similar. So we're hoping that we get the money we requested.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners? The Swift Insure program? Well, as I said in the subcommittee, I think it's great that a program like this also looks at supporting the individuals based needs, as employment and transportation and food too. It's nice to see the program well-rounded, trying to help these individuals. All right, if there are no other questions, we'll bring this forward to the regular session. Commissioner Engler, take over the rest.
Yeah, the next item up is consider approving the agreement between Carpal Computer Systems, Inc., doing business as Carpal Solutions in Isabella County for prosecutor Carpal software and authorized board chair to sign the same. As you know, we were talking about this earlier and we approved purchasing the software. Well needed. Part of the problem we're finding out is that just like everything else, everything is delayed. Didn't get all the funding that we were hoping to get at the time for the prosecutor. He's been working hard at it. The way it sits in the timeline, there's still going to be opportunities for it, but there is, I know the committee agreed, and I'm sure with Prosecutor Barbary here, he'll agree also that delaying this, pushing it back is really, if everything's so slow, it's really going to put a bind on there. It'd probably be a lot more expensive if we have to wait in a year. And the software is well needed. So I'll let Prosecutor Barbary comment on this a little further. So.
Sure.
Prosecutor Barbary.
Thank you. We obviously were before the board. Previously, we had a unanimous decision. The board had all voted in to move this forward. It would allow us to move forward in the process of securing funding, to move forward with the Carpal software and look to secure funding. We've explored some grant options. We have not heard back from a federal grant. We did not get the 2% grant from Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribes disbursements this spring. So we're continuing to look for alternative funding measures, but in the alternative, we do have some funds available in our forfeiture fund that can be utilized for this purpose, as well as there's some holes in our own or some surplus in our own budget that I think we can reallocate to this project to get things moving and get it off the ground. I don't want to create any artificial sense of urgency. To the best of my knowledge, well, I don't have any knowledge that the cost will go up, but I do know that if we don't move forward, there will be a delay in getting this software onboarded and doing the data transfer. We've got a 120-day timeline as it is. We're faster encroaching on that. So without a signed agreement, obviously, they're not willing to move forward. So for those reasons, we're asking that the board approve or give the board chair authority to approve the contract as provided between Carpal and our county.
Yes, is there any questions? Yes, Margaret. I think I got your hand. You might have to help me here because not everybody's moving on my screen. So you're on.
I'm good. I was muted. I'm sorry. Yes, I did have my hand up. Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to state that, I've met with the prosecutor numerous times looking at funding, and he's done a great job of trying to find any access that he could readily get. So I appreciate that. And also, we have sent the contract agreement to our attorneys. I did talk to our legal counsel, I don't know, sometime today. And they were going to try to get that back to us in a final document before this evening's meeting. There were a couple of things that got sent out late last night. So at this point, I guess I would certainly concur with the recommendation and the request to authorize the board chair to sign. Pending legal counsel perhaps, but I believe we're going to have that before tonight's meeting, and certainly, if not by then, before Chairman Horton and I meet tomorrow to have him sign documents. So it's forthcoming. They don't see any issue at this point. I just wanted the board to
Okay,
be.
any more questions? Yes, is there any more questions out there? Seeing none or hearing none, I'll say hearing more than seeing, but we'll move this forward to tonight's session. Okay, next up, we have consider approving the fiscal year 2021 grant agreement between the Michigan State Police and the Isabella County Prosecuting Attorney Office in the amount of $25,000 for federal pass-through coronavirus emergency supplemental funding, and authorize the board to sign the same. This is kind of a little separate grant available. Some of the upsides, it is $25,000. As far as any of the downside on it, it is a reimbursable grant. So the expenses has to be taken up front, and it does not cover fringe benefits. But anytime you can get a grant for that amount, I think it's well worth going after. So Prosecutor Barbary, would you like to comment on this?
Sure, I'll be very brief in this one. This is a potential grant to offer for contracted services, whether it's legal services or just general contracted employment, I should say. So if we needed some additional employment in the office to assist in getting caught up essentially from COVID backlog and things of that nature. To be very blunt, I don't know that we'll utilize this. I mean, certainly we can try, but actually securing somebody that's willing to come in and work for that value, that amount of money in a very short amount of time, it may be a challenge, but the funds were available. So I think rather than not attempt, we wanted to try to take advantage of that if it's possible.
Okay, is there any questions? I guess seeing none, we'll move it forward to the board session. The final item we have is consider approving the Patrick T. Horn and Marjorie A. Horn farmland agreement application and instruct Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. Pretty standard form, all the checks seems to be checked and all the dots seem to be dotted. The only thing a little bit unique about this one was that there's two deeds on there because it was sold in a land contract, and the deed doesn't go over until the land contract's paid over. So it was a little kind of interesting in how that works with the state, but the committee didn't see any problem with the application. So is there any questions? Seeing none, I will move this forward to board session. With that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving the board chairman or designee to sign both the completed Region 7 Area Agency on Aging request for proposal, application, and letter of support on behalf of Isabella County Commission on Aging for funding for fiscal year 2022, October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022, prior to the June 28th, 2021 deadline. Timing is important here. I'll let the director, Jen Crawford of Commission on Aging, give us the background on this, please. You're muted, Jen.
Jen, you want to speak and we'll see if we can hear you? No, we can't hear you.
I could give a little background on this.
That'd be good, Commissioner.
Okay, the annual Region 7 Area Agency funding request is due on January 28th. That's why I mentioned the timeliness. We got to get going on this and this is the way it always is, for the fiscal year 2022 contract year. Like I mentioned before, this goes from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022. And this represents 1/3 year of a 3-year contract that covers FY20 through FY22, supporting both in-home and nutrition services provided through Isabella County by the Isabella County Commission on Aging. It also marks the 49th year of continual service agreements and funding from Region 7 AAA to Isabella County and the Isabella County Commission on Aging. The financial impact of the contract is in total $234,990, and it's awarded will represent the funding in its housekeeping, personal care, CCS, respite care, caregiving training, congregate, HDM, and it is awarded by the Region 7 Area Agency, and it represents 20% of the Commission on Aging Services and Nutrition budgets. And I mentioned before, timing is real crucial. So we request that the Isabella County Commissioners grant approval for the Board of Commission or designee to sign both the completed RFP and letter of support on behalf of Isabella Commission on Aging and funding for fiscal year 2022, October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022, prior to the June 28th, 2021 deadline. Right?
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you.
So does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Go ahead, Commissioner Jaroszewski.
Jen is a good ventriloquist through you, Mr. Marino. I take it this is the initial application, because I know that as we progress through the year, we've had additional amounts of money that were found and then supplied to the Commission on Aging. Is that correct? But this is the initial one. All right, thank you.
If there's no more questions or comments, we'll move on to the next one. Commissioner Hutchinson, could you take this, please?
Yes, number 2 would be consider approving the 3rd amendment to the agreement for joint operation of the material recovery facility between the City of Mount Pleasant and Isabella County, and the authorized board chair to sign the same. And this is a contract that started back in 2008, and it was amended twice, I believe, in 2013, 2014, but has never been amended since then. And we just thought that this is something that we should, between both the city and the county, that we should have something in writing. And this is a contract that we'd like to have come up every year. So make it not only starting this year, but then from the years in the future, so that we can work together. They've been wonderful to work with, and share cost in the facility and the upgrades of things that we have at the facility. Is there any questions? Frank?
Yeah, just want to comment real quick that the working relation we've had with the city, I've been on that board for several years now, and it's well needed to have a partner in there, because it's difficult operation to keep running with the prices the way they are and everything. So it's very important to keep them operating with them, and also with Central Michigan University. Those have been partners keeping this facility going. So, and yeah, there is some upgrades, and both those upgrades are very well needed. The Baylor's definitely getting more, and the scales a scale that doesn't measure right can cost you a lot of money. So fully in support of this program. So that's all I have.
Anyone else? Steve? Commissioner Sweeney?
No worries. I'm a very informal person.
There.
Joe, being living in, I guess, a resident at Mount Pleasant, I'd say that this agreement between the county, MRF, and Mount Pleasant has been great for me. It reduces my trash flow by like 2/3 of it is recyclables. I put out 2 to 3 bins of recyclables every week. So it's a significant amount of product that's not getting thrown at least directly into a landfill. As you know, I'm sure as any recycle facility, you pick through the products and put them off to where they need to be. But very, very happy with this agreement, and I support this, and also support further thoughts of increasing our recycling and helping the outer county being able to more easily recycle as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, with that being said, we'll move this forward to tonight, but I do, it is a program that with working with the city just makes it so much better for the city and the county, and the keeping the harmony of everybody working together.
Okay, then that concludes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. Nice save, Commissioner Moreno. That's sometimes in our world of Zoom, we have some technical difficulties, so thank you for being very prepared. Do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Next up, under intergovernmental affairs, I believe this is the first time since I've been chairperson, and it's been a while since I've heard anything out of this affairs committee. So Vice Chairman Hope, if you would, please.
Yeah, it's been a while since we met, so it was really good to get together. These are important discussions, important relationship that we have with the Union Township and the city and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe. But Nancy Ridley, city manager, and the mayor and Commissioner Persbacher were there for the city. Eric Rodriguez was there for the tribe. And for Union Township, the supervisor, Brian Milkey, clerk, Lisa Cody was there, and the township manager, Mark Studler. We talked first about COVID-19 impact on operations, and each entity's kind of doing things a little differently. Union Township is health screening visitors, still masking for staff and visitors, vaccinated or unvaccinated. Masks are the rule there. They're still meeting remotely. For the tribe, of course, the mask mandate was lifted for the casino, but they're still asking unvaccinated staff to mask up. The city has been open for a while without appointments for visitors. They're not requiring masks for vaccinated visitors, or they are asking staff to show certification of vaccination, or in lieu of that, wear a mask. So that's a little bit different. The mayor thanked the county for continuing our emergency declaration, which allows them and allows some other entities to continue to meet remotely. So that was nice. Margaret spoke about what we're doing with the county with the single point of entry for the administration building, and that seems to be working well, and something we might even continue for security purposes into the future. Requiring masking in open public areas, but not in individual offices. So a few differences there on how the different entities are handling it. The tribe and the township gave an update. They've been working together on non-motorized trails plans, and they're going to go ahead with a trail from Pickard up to Mission Creek Park, either a sidewalk or a paved walking trail. And then long-term, they continue to work on a kind of a big circular trail around the city and through parts of the township. And also a connection to the Pear Marquette Rail Trail is in the long-range planning. So they want to, working with Mid-Michigan Pathways, want to make a trail up to Clare that would connect with that rail trail up there, which would be really nice. Margaret gave an update on the jail. We've got a special use permit and a site plan review being reviewed by Union Township Planning Commission. I believe that's happening tonight. And then talked a little bit about the old building and how we're going to demo that and put in probably expanded parking and some green space, which would be very nice right there. She also talked about how it'll be nice in the new building to have space for community mental health people to come in and do assessments for people that need mental health services or substance use disorder services, which is a large share of our inmate population has some sort of substance use disorder. So the space will be more conducive to those things. And also the GED program that Mount Pleasant Public Schools does. They've done a terrific job in a very small space. It's not really ideal for that, but we'll have a much better space for that. The city gave us an update on the Mount Pleasant Center property. The city and the tribe, Eric talked about looking at plans for their portion of the site, possibly restoring some of the buildings, possibly a memorial to Indigenous children who died in the boarding school that was there. I know there's a lot of awareness out there right now about that. So he talked a little bit about that. Nancy talked about the deed and how it says that the property is to be used for public use. So they're working with Representative Houck, looking for legislative action to clarify what that means and what they can do there. They've had some discussions, would like to see some residential space and also some green space eventually on that property. Margaret talked about the 9/11 surcharge. And Nancy and Eric both asked for literature that they can pass on to their constituents on that. So that was very nice. And then Mark gave an update on the Mid-Michigan Aquatic Center Authority. They had their first meeting recently, elected officers. So that committee is finally getting organized. And then we kind of wrapped it up by talking about the American Rescue Plan funds, and the consensus is that we should all work together so that we don't duplicate things that we want to see done. We can work together on stuff, and everybody kind of thought that the thing to do is go slowly and really think through what they want to do with that money. And then we decided that we should meet in September, possibly in person, which would be really nice. The county will host that meeting. And then we thought moving forward, we should try to start meeting quarterly again. A lot of issues coming up and a lot of things that we can collaborate on. So, Mr. Chairman, that's about it.
Very good report. I think that's a committee that's going to be seeing a lot of gauge of interest and talk. So I like the fact that you're on it and Commissioner Moreno's on it. And again, I do think it's going to be interesting as we move forward with the ARP monies and all that other issues. I think that's going to be some topics along with the jail. I think that's of community focus too. So thank you for that report. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess, do we ask any commissioners have any questions in regards to that report? Commissioner Swaney. I'm
I
sorry.
just have a quick question. Did any of the community leaders have a statement or a response to how long they foresee it necessary to continue with the emergency, county emergency order? Would they like to see it go through the summer, fall? I mean, obviously we got response from the city. That's helpful for them. None?
We really didn't discuss deadlines on that. I say the mayor did thank us for keeping that in place as long as we have. The discussion didn't really center around, well, should it end at any particular time? I think Commissioner Moreno brought this up, and some of the other folks there brought up that they kind of felt a little uneasy about how quickly things were opening up with the number of unvaccinated people still out there.
Yeah, wasn't it 38%?
Yeah.
Pretty low.
Vaccinated.
Yeah.
Vaccinated. Mhm.
Any other?
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Nope. No, I'm done. Go ahead.
All right. Any further commissioners have any questions or comments or anything? All right. Hearing and seeing none, I don't think that's an item for anything other than a discussion. And thank you again for bringing that forward. Very interesting. We have nothing under administrator controller reports, which brings us to unfinished business, which we have nothing. Pops us down into item number 9, new business. First up, consider canceling the July 6, 2021 Isabella Board of Commissioners work session and regular meeting. Margaret, I think if you want to touch this one real quick.
Sure, I can do that, Mr. Chairman. This is the tradition of the Board of Commissioners since I've been here, which is almost 8 years, and I believe it was the tradition long before that. So we would need to have a motion on that. Of course, if anything ever came up of a quote unquote emergency or very deliberate, something that had to be dealt with, we could follow the Open Meetings Act special meeting requirements. But generally, this board chooses not to meet the week of July 4th. So that I think is why that's on the agenda, and we would need a motion and a vote on that if that's what your desire is.
Also, too, I'd like to mention us to the new commissioner, Commissioner Hutchinson. That also means my understanding is that we will not be having committee meetings until the week before that, week before our July. So we will not have committee meetings until the second Tuesday in July will be our next committee meeting. So there's kind of like a little gap in between. So be ready and prepared for that one, because there'll be quite a bit of materials in regards to that. So and this evening, if I can have Commissioner, I'm going to choose one. I'm just going eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Commissioner Jelazinski, if you would not mind tackling that one tonight for the motion, I would appreciate that. So Commissioner Vice Chairman Hope's going to do item B. If you would do item A, please, on tonight's agenda.
Will do.
Thank you. Moving to next item number B, Vice Chairman Hope.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This was an item that got added at the 11th hour. It's a particular importance in the timing of it, but the motion would be consider approving the extension for the Cooperative Reimbursement Program agreement between the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Isabella County Prosecuting Attorney's Office for a 2-year period ending September 30th, 2023 in the amount of $46,882 per year, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. And Administrator McAvoy, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or.
I'm going to hand it off to Prosecutor Barberry.
Certainly.
Sure. So 5 years ago, we entered into an agreement with the Department of Health and Human Services on two separate accounts. One is our Title 4D child support reimbursement for our assistance that we help the county, for the state in recouping funds paid for services provided to parents. And the other is to cover our reimbursement for neglect and abuse legal services provided to the Department of Health and Human Services. Both were up this year, and one of them, we received notice just last week that this contract was going to be asked to be signed by June 30th. Essentially, what they're doing is rather than renegotiating, they're undergoing some state level management changes at the Department of Health and Human Services. So they've asked us to just do a 2-year extension. So for those reasons, we're asking at this point just to have the chairperson be changed on the contract and have the authority to re-enter that agreement. I don't think at this point that there's any room to negotiate with the state on this. And so we're just looking to do the extension for 2 years to allow us to continue to get the reimbursement for the services provided to the Department of Health and Human Services and those two programs.
All right, Commissioner Hope, you
That's
have done, go ahead.
That's it. He did a great job. Thank you, Prosecutor Barbary.
Quick question, not question. We got Margaret, I know this came in late at 3:51 today. I know you and I talked about this, and I said, put it on and let's let the other commissioners know. I'm sure the commissioners have not had, I'm sure they've checked their emails before, right up till 3:59, just right up, make sure they got that. I guess, Prosecutor Barbary, what's your schedule like this evening? Are you going to be around, or you have anything personal going on that you can make our 7 p.m. meeting or not? If you do, I'm not going to, if you can't, that's fine. I completely understand.
I was not planning to make the 7 o'clock meeting tonight.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking that is just in case all the other commissioners, had any questions. I'm sure they're going to spend the next hour and 14 minutes after our meeting and when we get this done to look at that. But
will it be on the same portion of the meeting at the very end then? And
yeah, I would think that's what the reason I'm going with that is I think the commissioners understand the necessity of this. And I mean, I've kind of skimmed read it real quickly, and it looks to me like it's very important to your staffing and your dollar amount. So
sure, maybe I
and
should have expanded on the history a little bit more, but we've been in this contract for several years. Certainly the last 5, if not probably the last 20 years. And essentially what it is we provide that service to the state to help families in the area, and both to facilitate legal services to the Department of Health and Human Services when they bring a neglect and abuse action, as well as when we help the state recoup funding for services that they provide to whether it's a single mother or single father. Something of that nature, where we assist in recouping those funds for the state. And we've done this for, like I say, many, many, many years. And these are just to allow us to continue to seek those reimbursement funds. It's not a new contract. It's just an extension of an existing contract. There's not a lot of room to negotiate at this level. So I don't want to call it a very standard form contract, but there's not much for us necessarily to, at least from my perspective, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's continuing what we're doing already. And, I never like to bring anything to the board and put anybody under duress, but we decided to do this as opposed to put it on next month because of the desired deadline of June 30th of having these returned to the state. Otherwise, we'd have given more notice and opportunity to review it. But I don't know that there's much difference in this contract than there was in any years prior.
Would you describe it then as basically an integral part to your operation there then?
In all candor, it's become less integral in the sense that the fees that are recouped are less and less over the years. Both, and I think in part just to a change in the dynamics of how our court system runs. We spend less time in court billing on these fees, and the court has shifted some of the burden to the front of the court. I don't want to go too far, but yes, it's an important funding aspect of our office. But we were hopeful to be able to try to negotiate this agreement some more. It just doesn't seem like this is going to be the year.
I'm just looking at the quick cover. I just want to make sure that the commissioners, that if we have any questions, you're to be around to answer. But again, I look at this and I don't see any significance not significance, that's not the proper term. I don't see anything out of the ordinary with this other than, a normal course with the prosecutor's office. I don't really have a problem with you not being there tonight. If we have any questions between now and then, I guess we can get hold of the County Administrator McAvoy and she can reach out to you or something like that. But if all the rest of the commissioners are okay with that, I certainly don't want to speak out of turn, but if anybody has a question or anything, or ask now if you want to quickly do it. If not, yes, Margaret.
Let me just say that the last thing that came in there just a couple minutes before the board meeting was really the portion about the motion earlier in the agenda regarding the loan, the bond. This came out not too much sooner than that, but a little bit sooner in an email to the commissioners with the motion, and attached to that was the latest staff report that we had that went with this from 2016. So, what we're asking is what Mr. Barbary is asking, and what I'm also recommending is that it's a 2-year extension. That's what the offer is from the state. If Mr. Barbary wants to try to negotiate after that for a future agreement, then he'll have more time to do that. But just the way all the information came out today and the discussion and the schedule, I just would know that the board chair is not going to sign an agreement that they're not authorized to sign. So that's why that's on the agenda tonight. It's an extension. It doesn't really, it's not a huge amount of money. It's certainly $46,000 is a huge amount of money every year. But there's also another part of that goes to the court directly at the front of the court office, which is multiple times this amount. I think part of this issue is that the state just decided to extend what they currently have, as the prosecutor said. And also there's this EGRAM reservation that we have to go in and sign up for with the chairperson. And because the chairperson has changed since last year, that was part of making sure this all got on the agenda today. So that's basically where we are at. I do think that it's just an extension of what we're already doing. It doesn't really change any of the criteria of the agreement. There's no change, correct, Mr. Barbary, except extending it for 2 years.
And unfortunately, no, it's they've increased the allowances. So in the event that we were to bill for amounts up and above what we had previously accounted for or contracted for, the state's been good about that. The problem, and it's somewhat complicated, but the problem is that they tend to fly spec or they reduce our billables by about 75 to 80%. So when we do $10,000 worth of legal work, we get a bill for about $1,700, or we get a check. And so the calculation that they use to determine that is what I wanted to try to negotiate this around. But unfortunately, just based on the message sent out to all 83 counties was that they won't be doing that this year. So it's a long-winded way, and I don't mean to digress from the conversation, but essentially all we're doing is looking to extend the agreement that we already have in place.
Thank you for that. Any commissioners, anybody else have any statements or comments or anything like that in regards to this? All right, I see nothing there, so this will move forward to this evening. Thank you, Prosecutor Barbary, for that. Next up, general public comments. Nicole, do we have anybody on the line?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I will wait just a few moments and then we'll.
You have a hand raised on your
Okay.
screen. Clerk Lux.
Oh, Clerk Lux, I'm so sorry. I didn't-
I just want to say kind of under the general public comments, I have 24 years of being a county employee. And as an elected official and the taxpayer of Isabella County, I am appalled by the disrespect given today to a fellow elected official. He was never invited to speak today. Elected officials have the right to speak and protect their departmental funds and a right to speak on those funds. We are elected for this purpose, and I do hope that we do start working as a team and that this does not happen ever again. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further public comment?
We do not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll close general public comment and move to announcements. Commissioners, any announcements? All right, I'm hearing and seeing none. I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 5:54 p.m. We'll see everyone tonight at 7 p.m.